Good morning and welcome to the June 1st. Wow, we're into June. Meeting this morning. And before we start, Michael Brandenburg, you're going to do our prayer for us again?
Yes.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, commissioners. Thanks for having us. Bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day that we have received today, Father. And we ask in our hearts we plan our course, but we pray for you to establish our steps. I pray that we seek you for advice, and let's not make decisions based on what we know, but based upon your wisdom. Please guide us, Lord, as we place this meeting in your hands. We place our hearts and our minds in your hands also, that you may bring and direct as the scriptures lead. Lord, give them wisdom as they guide over the issues of our time today, God. Lord, give them wisdom to be good stewards. As for the citizens of this county that we call Clermont, Father, we ask it in your name. In Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And now to start, Commissioner Peter, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First on the agenda is item B, approval of the regular session minutes of May 25th. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Holly?
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. And for public participation this morning, we are honored to have some people with us. But before we start that, I would like to read a statement, if I may.
Absolutely.
Okay with you, Commissioner?
Absolutely.
This is a great honor for the county commissioners, Claire Corcoran, David Painter, for us to be able to do this today. I'd like to read a little statement here. On Thursday, May 26th at 9:17 a.m., the Communications Center received a call from the Marathon Fuel Center, 1271 State Route 125. The clerk, Ms. Catherine Troxel, reported an agitated customer that told Ms. Troxel she was going to drop off her 3 children at a police station and go shoot up her kids' school. Pierce Township Police Officer Mark Weitzel responded to the gas station and spoke to Ms. Troxel, who stated the customer seemed agitated over not having enough money to pay for the items she wanted to purchase. Officer Weitzel put this information out over the police radio, not knowing who the suspect was or having a plate number of the vehicle. A broadcast was made and all surrounding agencies in Clermont County were notified. Local police departments notified their schools and lockdowns of those schools were put in place. The suspect was a frequent customer and police had a general idea where she lived. In the meantime, Officer Weitzel reviewed surveillance video from the Marathon store. From that video, he was able to obtain the license plate number of the vehicle and corresponding address. A Clermont County Sheriff's deputy responded to that address and spotted the unoccupied vehicle in the parking lot. A short time later, the deputy took the suspect into custody. The schools were immediately notified there was no longer an active threat, and they lifted the lockdowns. We are proud to have with us today Catherine Troxel. If you would like to come up, we have a certificate we would like to present to you. You can bring her with you. That's okay.
Absolutely. Bring her with you.
Bring her.
Come on up. Come on up.
You don't want to. There you go. Hi. Catherine, this is presented to you from Commissioner David Painter, Commissioner Claire Corcoran today, and it states, the Board of County Commissioners hereby commends you for your fast thinking and remembering. If you see something, say something. I love that phrase. We thank you for recognizing a potential danger to the citizens of Clermont County and taking action. So proud of you. Thank you. Don't sit back down there. Come on up, Mark. I feel old. He went to school with my son. The Board of County Commissioners also hereby commends you for your tenacity and investigative work on stopping a potential threat on the lives of the citizens of Clermont County. Thank you for your service to our community also. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have to warn you, Mr. Camera Bug over there is going to get pictures here in just a second, but I'd also like to thank some other people. First of all, we have Pierce Township Police Chief Paul Broxman here today. Did Alan make it? He said he was going to, I guess not. Deputy Chris Stratton is here from the Sheriff's Department. Thank you for coming also. But Detective Erica, where'd you go? Oh, you're in the corner. They put you in the corner. Erica Hott, she was the lead investigator on the case from Pierce Township. Also, the Clermont County Sheriff's Department for their involvement and fast work in this. And also the Union Township Police Department was also. We can't thank our law enforcement enough, and for citizens like you, Catherine. So thank you. So, commissioners, you want to come down? We are
I think
honored
we're
to have
going to
a
have a
picture.
crowd, maybe some.
Absolutely.
Come on up. Come on.
Come on, Chief. Come on, Bonnie.
Hey, Bonnie.
And of course, Alan Freeman has to make the grand entrance.
Bonnie.
Yes. And Mr. Kiss Hayden is here from the Communications Center. Thanks for your people for getting that call out quickly. So we're gonna get some pictures.
Line up.
I was gonna say, I didn't think so. Who are we missing? Get in here, Alan, you came in late. Who are we missing?
I thought I was supposed to give a speech.
You want your-
Oh, well.
Catherine, you want your-
Oh, here we go. We're going to be here all day, people.
Ready?
You got the widescreen on?
Yep. Hey, is that a fat joke?
I didn't say it. Before we move, who are all the little ones?
I know they're.
They're mine. They're all
Well,
mine.
bring them on up. Come on up, kids. You need to be in this picture. Come on up. I know you're shy. Come on up. Come on up. We're missing another one. Come on up. There we go. All right. Now act like you're happy.
We graduated.
Yeah, we went to 4.
Three, now it's four.
Thanks for
Yep. One phone call.
I like that. But you made it.
I did. Thank you.
Good job. Yeah.
What'd she say?
I don't know. That was cute. Play Pokemon. Thank you. Okay, moving on now to item D is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Holly?
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Moving on to item E is the non-consent. Yes,
New hires?
sure.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
that's okay. Employee introduction.
Okay.
think we'll go with Department of Job and Family Services first.
Morning.
Morning.
Morning. My name is Ann Gross. I am the Assistant Director of Children's Services, and I am here this morning to introduce Amy Burke. Amy Burke, graduate. She is one of our supervisors. She'll be supervising an ongoing unit. Amy graduated from Northern Kentucky University with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. She's proudly lived in Clermont County since birth and is a graduate of Goshen High School. Amy has worked in the field of human services and child welfare for the past 16 plus years. She was previously employed with Clermont County for about 10 years, with the majority of her experience in Clermont County Children's Services until 2016. For the last 6 years, she has remained working in child welfare and has been a supervisor with both Hamilton County and Warren County Children's Services. Amy is married and has 2 children. Her husband has been a Clermont County employee for over 15 years. She spends a lot of her free time watching her children at their sporting events. She and her family are also involved with 4-H and show chickens in the Clermont County Fair. She's involved with various volunteer community organizations, such as being a member of the Goshen Lions Club, and she serves on the Goshen Education Foundation and is a member of Friends of Stone Lake Lake. So we are very excited to have Amy with us.
Is she here?
She is right there.
Oh, there she is.
Come on up so we can get a picture of you. Hey, if we have to do it, you have to do it. Come on up there. Mike, will you get a picture? You don't want one? We all get a
We'll
picture.
get them all together.
Okay, we'll get them all together.
Claire's
Water
just a little
I
anxious,
just
right?
wanted to make her stand up because we have to do it. Well, see?
Lyle's meeting.
Morning. I have Nick Bowling with me this morning.
Morning.
Nick is our maintenance supervisor over our electro maintenance division. They primarily handle the maintenance activities at our 8 wastewater treatment plants. I think we're up to about 110 lift stations, and then our 2 equalization facilities. Nick has an associate's degree from the University of Cincinnati in computer science, about 20 years experience in the machine industrial trades field. And then most recently, he was a service manager at Xylem. Xylem's a local company that they actually manufacture flight pumps, which we use at many of our lift stations. So this is a good fit. Well, we're happy to have Nick on board and a part of our team.
Welcome.
Welcome, Nick. Thank you. You got it. And then we'll move on to fleet maintenance. Mr. Prescott.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
I'm Wayne Prescott, the fleet director. I want to introduce Brian Strunk. He comes to us from Grant Auto Tech School, which he was highly, his teacher spoke very highly of him. He had 2 years without missing a day, and we're happy to have him here. He'll be our new auto tech one.
Welcome.
Good.
So he's up to date on all the latest frills, huh? Right.
And we have the cars for him to work on, don't we?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Facilities management, Mr. Turner.
He's leaving without a picture.
No, he's not leaving, Claire.
All right.
She
all.
thought he was going to leave without.
We have Sean Marlowe, Christopher Marlowe, he goes by Sean. He come to us from the private sector, owned his business, some remodeling type stuff. Sean's been around the county pretty well all his life, moved up from Florida. Kids went to Batavia High School, so he's been throughout the town. We're getting him acclimated with all our buildings, and he's going to take over the coordinator's position. So a lot of plumbing repair, but we have a lot of miscellaneous day-to-day tasks that he takes care of. So, Sean?
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Chris, who was the last coordinator that we had?
I'm sorry.
Who held that position prior?
That was me.
Oh,
That was me.
oh,
Yeah.
Excuse me, Bill, buddy.
Yeah. So we're showing him the ropes and showing him how all the stuff's got to be, where all the buildings are. That's the biggest part, and all the secret little holes.
Yeah.
So it'll
So
take
if
a little while,
he's
but we'll
taking
get it.
your position, what are you doing?
I have moved up to supervisor for facilities management.
Good for
So
you.
he's the one we blame now. when things go
Yeah,
wrong.
we call him.
Yeah. They go to him, and then when he don't have it, and then we just go to Wade. So.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom, I believe those are literal big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Those are-
Holy cow.
I got 2 styles I can get from there. So.
Okay,
And ISD, we're going to hold on that until
Yeah.
next week.
okay,
Thank you.
okay. Thank you. So now we go on to,
Now the photo.
Oh,
See,
my
I knew they were
goodness.
gonna forget. Oh, you guys
oh,
are.
you guys.
Yeah, you're not
You wanna-
Can we stand? I guess not.
Me too.
You want us to just stand up behind?
Yeah, the commissioners.
We gotta get this work.
We gotta get
one
in
down.
a crack here for us shorties.
Oh, I knocked your water over.
You gotta find a
It's-
spot in
it's-
between.
it's- yeah.
All right. Only 3. This time it was 4.
Thank you.
Yay.
Yeah.
Welcome,
Thank you all.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just acknowledge. Okay. Well, that emptied the house, didn't it? Okay, we're going to get back to public participation. Anyone? I don't see anyone in the audience. Okay. Moving on then to non-consent agenda. Item 10. It is the recommendation that the Board of County Commissioners adopt resolution number 057-22 resolving to approve payment to vendors in the total amount of $1,141,978.29 as set forth in the BCC approval invoice report for checks dated June 1st, 2022. BCC directed prepaid invoices, reports, and/or procurement card transaction report as presented by the county auditor on May 31st, 2022, and further authorizing the county auditor to issue warrants for same pursuant to section 319.16 of the Ohio Revised Code. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second.
Roll call, Holly?
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes. Okay, item 11.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good
Item
morning.
11 is a recommendation of Jeremy Evans, County Engineer, to approve the solicitation of a request for statement of qualifications for as-needed engineering services relative to design services for bridge replacement projects, roadway improvements, bridge load rating services, drainage analysis, traffic studies, performance of geotech services, soil borings, or construction materials testing and inspection, or professional services related to right-of-way acquisitions. This is pursuant to and in compliance with Ohio Revised Code Section 153.68. All of the interested firms may email their statement of qualifications to the county at the email address listed. They may also submit 3 hard copies to myself. These will be open until 2 p.m. on Thursday, June 30th. The notice will also go in the Clermont Sun.
Okay, thank you. Board, you've heard the reading. May we have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
Roll call, Holly?
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes, thank you. We're now going to have the Lyle Bloom Show.
Item 12 is a recommendation to accept the following grants of water and sewer easements with rights of reentry for repair and replacement that will be granted and conveyed to Clermont County for utility purposes of constructing, operating, maintaining, repairing, replacing, removing, or reinstalling water and sewer utility lines, pumping equipment, and manholes, and all incidental appurtenances required for the transportation of water and sewage in, on, under, and across the property of the grantor, as well as provide ingress and egress access to the easement areas. And this is for parcel number 413104D218, located along Tealtown Road in Union Township. And the grantor is the Clermont County Port Authority, and the easement is donated.
Okay. Board, you've heard the reading of item number 12. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second.
Discussion? Roll call, Holly?
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. 13?
Item 13 is a recommendation to execute a contract for professional services between the Board of County Commissioners and LJB Incorporated out of Miamisburg, Ohio. This is for project number 6401-60206 relative to the design of the Business 28 Water Main Replacement Project, Part 2, located in Miami Township, in accordance with the consultant's proposal dated April 22nd, 2022, for a total amount not to exceed $104,281, with said services to be completed within 245 consecutive calendar days upon issuance of a written notice to proceed from the Water Resources Department, exclusive of county review time, pursuant to and in compliance with the terms and conditions set forth therein, and contingent upon the release of the purchase order.
Board, you've heard the reading of item 13. Do we have a motion to approve?
Make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Item 14 is a recommendation to adopt resolution number 058-22, resolving to determine to make improvements relative to the construction, operation, and maintenance of the 9-mile collection system improvements project located in Pierce Township. Designated as project number 6402-60148 in conformance with detailed plans, specifications, and estimates of costs and financing, all of which will be paid from one or more of any combination of the wastewater capital improvement fund, American Recovery Plan Act funding, any portion of any federal or state grant or loan should such become available, and or by the issuance of notes or bonds pursuant to section 133.08 of the Ohio Revised Code, and payable from revenues derived from sewer rates and charges levied for the operation of the Clermont County wastewater system, and subsequent thereto to approve the request to advertise for bids pursuant to the plans and specifications, and to authorize the clerk of the board to place a legal notice in a newspaper of general circulation on Thursday, June 9th, 2022. Schedule a non-mandatory pre-bid meeting on Thursday, June 23rd, 2022 at 10 a.m. with bids to be received until 2:00 p.m. local time on Thursday, June 30th, 2022, here in the Office of the Board of County Commissioners, 101 East Main Street, Batavia, where they will be publicly open and read aloud shortly thereafter, and the notice will also be posted on the county's website. So the funding for this project includes capital improvement funds estimated at $655,000, and then we plan to use the ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan Act funds, of $3 million for this project. The engineer's estimate for construction is $3,348,112 and includes replacement of approximately almost 4,200 feet of 18-inch sanitary sewer that will be upsizing to 21-inch sewer.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 14. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, Holly?
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. 15.
Item 15 is a recommendation to accept the contract between Clermont County and Tribute Contracting and Consultants, LLC, out of South Point, Ohio. This is for project number 6401-60181 relative to the James E. Sauls Drive Transmission Main Project located in the village of Batavia, Batavia Township, and Williamsburg Township. As complete as of December 24th, 2021, and to approve the application and certification for payment number 5, which is the final and represents the release of retainage in the principal amount of $50,000, $446.64 from People's Bank, plus all accrued interest earned thereon.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 15. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Item
16
16 is a recommendation.
Well, just before you move
Sure.
to 15 there, just to ask a question. That particular project right there, what was the rough order of magnitude on that project?
So that it was a 16-inch water main that we extended down James Sauls as far as the length. Oh boy, about a little over 8,600 feet of 16-inch main.
And what did that actually go to down James Sauls?
Well, there's portions of that area that improved fire protection. It helped improve the hydraulics of our distribution system, and then it feeds directly into the South Afton Business Park as well.
In the total project cost was?
Total project cost, or the construction cost was $1,206,256.50.
And I just saw that the final retention on it was $50,000. That's something that you ought to look into with the state, and that, retention is usually held to make sure that a project stays on schedule and that it's completed. Typically government agencies have allowed reduction of retention as long as the project stays on schedule and the work is acceptable. Having a final cost or a final payment of $50,000 is, a lot of money to hold off a contractor that, obviously is paying for the bonding and those kind of things, just to take a look at it. Just to see if there's ever been an avenue for that in the state level.
Usually 8% of the first 50%, which works out to 4% of the contract amount.
Yeah.
It might be stipulated.
Wow, they hold that for 1 year's warranty.
No, it's until they get all the releases. So it would be if they didn't pay any of their subcontractors, we could pull from that to issue joint checks. Any subcontractor suppliers, we need all the certificates of materialmen. I'm
Yeah,
probably forgetting some paperwork.
One of the things to look at is, like, for instance, if they're issuing certified payroll and material men for and the payments are actually being made, typically government agencies reduce that retention down to what really is at the
Necessary.
end, paperwork. And just, because if an agency, if contractors know that an agency does that, hold your money till the end, they just factor it in up front when they bid the job, so it ends up costing you in the long run.
Got it.
Thank you.
No problem.
Holly, did we do roll call?
Yes, we
Okay.
did. Yes.
Moving on then to 16.
16, all right. Item 16 is a recommendation to execute a contract for professional services between the Board of County Commissioners and Prime AE Group Incorporated, doing business as Prime AE out of Cincinnati, Ohio. This is for project number 6401-60207, relative to the design of the Fay Road Water Main Replacement Project located in Goshen Township, in accordance with the consultant's proposal dated March 18th, 2022, for a total amount not to exceed $71,117, with said services to be completed within 171 consecutive calendar days upon issuance of a written notice to proceed from the Water Resources Department, exclusive of county review time pursuant to and in compliance with the terms and conditions set forth therein, and contingent upon the release of the necessary purchase order. And so this is for the design of a replacement water main. We'll be replacing a lot of the 1959 cast iron water main along Fay Road, or a portion of Fay Road, and along Earl Drive and Nancard Drive.
Thank you. Board, we've heard the reading of item number 16. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, Holly?
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Thank you, Lyle.
Thank you.
Mr. Bickford,
Good morning, Board.
morning.
We are here to talk about 911 comm center rates. So recommendation of John Cascaden, Director of Department of Public Safety Services, with the concurrence of Miss Mary Raines, Director of the Office of Management and Budget, and myself, to establish the Clermont County Communication Center 2021 cost allocation rates, which are necessary to recover the incremental costs from users of the system, which represents 15% of the actual 2021 costs for the operation of the center, as computed based on the 2021 actual billable dispatches and 2021 actual airtime usage. All this to be invoiced to users in 2022 and payable by May 1st, 2023 at the following rates. So the public safety governmental users is $8.3147 per dispatch. The airtime usage, 800 of the 800 megahertz system, is 91.16 cents for minute of airtime.
We've heard the reading of item number 17. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just
Yeah.
will,
Before we move
Yep.
on, talk about the current rate versus this rate.
okay, so if you recall, with the pandemic, we had a decrease in number of calls. So the board elected to use CARES funds last year, essentially, to hold the rate at $7.41 per dispatch. That rate should have been $8.33 per dispatch because the number of calls went down. Well, last year the calls rebounded and they went back up. So the rate for 2021 is $8.31.
which is actually a decrease over what should have been paid last year, but because the county supplemented that with CARES funds that kept the rates at the 2019 level. So we did have an increase, but there are no more CARES funds to distribute. But I am going to talk about something next that will kind of offset some of that. But yeah, so that's the rates this year.
At $8.31, I'm against that. I'm not going to charge, especially in this environment. In this environment with rising cost and with the inflation that everybody is experiencing, especially for these small townships and people that use that dispatch, this $8.31, I think is going to create a safety hazard in that they're going to use some other means of communication other than hooking up with it. So I'm going to be a no vote on this.
Can I ask you a question? They each got ARPA funds for all the townships also. Can they not offset that money to help pay for the increased rise since we leveled it out last time, trying to keep things down for people?
That's a way to do it.
Plus the delinquent bills. We finally got caught up on all of our delinquent bills and we're finally good. Not with us, but with certain townships. And they've got ARPA money now to offset. So that would just be my flow on it. Anyway.
So if I may, I'll just,
Yes.
the cost breakdown this year, 3.155 million to run the center. The sheriff cost is 81%, so that's 2.5 million. That leaves 597,000 for the other users. When we take out what's left, we are basically dividing that cost up. Approximately $465,000 is what this is leading to that $8 charge. So the board, if the board wants to reduce that, we need to increase the county's contribution. So right now the county's putting in 2.5 million. If we increase that contribution, then that would lower the cost per dispatch.
And
So-
we're putting that 2.5 million in out of the general fund. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, it's a
And those-
general fund.
Those funds are coming collectively. I mean, it all comes from one place, but those funds are coming from local government funds and other funds that are placed in those accounts. Is that correct, Mary?
It's allowable in general fund money.
Right.
Property tax, sales tax, local government funds, everything.
So we're going to be getting another draw, right?
Yeah.
Can some of that money be used for any of this?
Draw from the ARPA funds.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Right. The second
Yeah, we'd have to look into if that's an
second
eligible.
tranche is $20 million.
Yeah, we have.
I just think that as a board, I just think that, it's come to a time where some tough decisions are going to need to be made about relaying these costs to, the local entities. I just think that it's getting too costly and, I just can't see them being able to sustain those kind of costs. So,
Well, you don't want them to delay making that call, trying to save on the cost of that call.
Right. And the other thing would be maybe hold off on making this decision to review everything. On top of it all, I think we need to also remember the cost of employees to get what it's costing to house these employees and keep them. And we've had to raise rates, et cetera. And because of all the competition we have, and it's hard keeping people in these positions. And my hat's off to all the service that the 911 communication center does for everyone. I mean, and I don't know. I think we need to really get into it more before we make a decision to say
And
if
that's fine. I
that's all
think
right.
We would just need to know what the board's desire is, and we could go back,
Okay.
work with OMB to figure out, we can look at however you want to slice it. So it just really boils down to what is the board looking for in terms of what they want the cost to be. And then we could,
Greg, if we're getting another 20 million the next time, let's look at if we took a portion of that to keep the costs down a little bit. I agree with Commissioner Painter. It's a strain on smaller entities to be able to afford these costs.
so we're looking to hold the $7.41 numbers. Is that what we're looking for?
my recommendation would be to hold the 741 for another year. And then I would take a look at what current tax receipts are in the county as far as, if we can't contribute some more to hold at that cost.
We will look at the.
Bring it back.
Environment we're in today.
Okay.
Can we bring it back and have an exact
Sure.
amount?
Yeah, we will, We will try to hold that $7.41 number and see what it's going to take.
Okay.
We can look if ARPA funds are available to do that, or if their tax revenues are based on what they are. So we'll certainly bring that back. That's not a problem.
So I would, there's a
We need a
motion.
motion.
We've got a motion. That motion's been made. It would have. to
It
be
has been made
withdrawn
and-
if we're going to change it.
It has been made and seconded, so you can either withdraw or you can vote.
Who made the first?
The motion was made by Commissioner Corcoran.
Are you
I'm
willing
gonna
to
withdraw it. I withdraw it at this
Second
point.
was?
You.
Commissioner Painter.
I'll withdraw.
Okay, we will,
Now I'd make a motion that we table. Is that what we want to do?
Till a date certain, do you want us to come bring this back next?
Can you get it done by next Wednesday?
I mean, yes, it's an issue of just, Mary just needs to take a look at the
So
numbers,
we'll
and
table to the next regular session on next Wednesday.
Right.
we'll just bring you options based on if you want to hold that $7.41 number. We'll let you know what that's going to cost.
Motion?
We need a motion to table the item to June 8th.
I make that motion.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Holly.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Next,
That's that.
18.
18. I'm still up here. This
Are.
recommendation.
Thought you were gonna go away.
Recommendation of John Kiskaden, Director of DPSS, with my concurrence, to authorize Bonnie J. Batchelor, President of the Board of County Commissioners, to execute change order number 1 to the maintenance support purchase agreement between the board and Motorola Solutions out of Chicago, Illinois, which was originally ratified by the Board of County Commissioners on 8/26/2020, relative to the installation of link layer authentication flash updates for the county, which represents an increase in the contract amount of $137,981.25 for a total adjusted contract price to date of $1,535,121.93. All of this, of course, requires the purchase order and the requisition number 3305 dated 5/19/2022. And then I can explain what this is if you
How
would.
about explaining it before you ask for a vote?
So what this is, we are on the state mark system for our communications center, and they are going to an authentication model which requires security on the radios. And the majority of the radios are flash upgradable, but of course it comes at a cost. The cost to do every eligible radio in the county, this is county radios and third-party user radios, is that $137,000, which we've budgeted to come out of general fund to pick up the cost for all the member jurisdictions. There's a small percentage of radios that are just too obsolete to flash, and then DPSS is dealing with that separately. But for now, this upgrades all the radios for when the required security comes online in 2025. So it gets us ahead of the curve. So this is cost being borne by the county exclusively.
All right. And this will save every entity money by the county doing this.
Correct. They will not be responsible for the charges. And if the radio is flash upgradable, we will not have to buy a new one.
Now, do I have a motion to approve?
Make that motion.
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call, Holly.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Thank you for
Thanks,
explaining.
Greg. Jessica.
Hello.
Hi.
Good morning. Number 19 is the recommendation of Greg Bickford, Assistant County Administrator, to authorize John Kiskaden, Director of Department of Public Safety Services, to execute a memorandum of understanding and agreement between the Clermont County Department of Public Safety Services on behalf of the Clermont County Board of Commissioners and the Ohio Department of Public Safety Services, Ohio State Highway Patrol, out of Columbus, for the use of the same computer-aided CAD system provided by the Ohio Department of Administrative Services Multi-Agency Radio Communication System, MARCS, for a period of 10 years effective upon execution and at no cost therefore pursuant to and in compliance with the terms and conditions set forth therein. This is so our dispatchers can see what Ohio State Patrol troopers have on their board, and they can see what's on ours so that they're kind of a step ahead. So we don't get behind when we get a crash. We can kind of share information very quickly.
Interact
Yes.
between the two. Board, you've heard the reading of item number 19. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes, thank you. Mary Rains. Good morning.
I thought I was waiting for last, so I forgot about this one guy. Number 20 is a recommendation to place the legal notice in the Clermont Sun on Thursday, June 9th, for the notice of the public hearing on the 2023 tax budget. We'll schedule it for Wednesday, June 22nd at 11 a.m. local time here in the Commissioner's Session Room. At that time, we'll also have a presentation to go over the requests and everything. Departments turned in their requests on the 23rd, so we're in the process of rolling all those up, and we'll have something. It'll be ready for public inspection 10 days before the hearing. So this is a request to advertise for that public hearing notice.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 20. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Thank you. Aaron?
Item number 21 is a recommendation of Thomas J. Igle, County Administrator, to approve the following request for travel reimbursement of expenses for training and travel pursuant to the policies and procedures of the Board of County Commissioners and in compliance with the annual appropriations for calendar year 2022 and any and all amendments subsequent thereto. This is a request for Commissioner Batchelor for a one-day travel to Loveland, Ohio for the Little Miami River Chamber Alliance 2022 Women's Executive Luncheon, and total expenses estimated not to exceed $55.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 21. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
No.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Abstain. Item number 22.
Now you're back.
I was ready for it. This is a recommendation to increase the 2023 annual appropriations in the Juvenile Court Special Project Funds. This is for a new program called the Juvenile Supervised Parenting Program in the amount of $5,000.
Board, you've heard the reading. May I have a motion to approve?
Make the motion.
Second.
Roll call, Holly?
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter. Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on to additions to the agenda.
No, ma'am.
Commissioners, I would like to ask that the board consider taking items number 10 and number 11 from last week's non-consent agenda that were tabled. I'd like the board to consider taking them off the table at this time.
What were 10 and 11?
10 and 11 were the representatives to the Clermont County Land Bank. They were tabled a regular session of May 25th, 2022.
I'll make a motion to take them off the table.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
And I'm back, so we're
Are
gonna
you
talk-
back?
We're talking land bank instead. We're going to go from 911 to land bank. So just a brief history, as you know, the board passed the supporting resolutions for the county land bank, and it has been created. The treasurer has filed the articles of incorporation. So part of those articles of incorporation, there are 2 county commissioners, the county treasurer, and then a representative of the townships and a representative of the largest city. The representative of the townships, they have passed resolutions to designate someone for that board. And the city is City of Milford, largest city. They have a representative. So now we need to fill it with 2 county commissioners. So I have here is item number 10 is a recommendation to nominate a commissioner to serve on the Clermont County Land Bank in concert with the Clermont County Land Utilization Corporation, which is ratified by the Board of County Commissioners on October 6, 2021, under ORC Section 5722 as the agency for reclamation activities related to vacant, abandoned, tax foreclosed, and other real property in the county, effective upon approval through 12/31/22. So that's item number 10. So we'll take a motion there for one of the commissioners to serve on the land bank.
I make a motion that Claire Corcoran serve.
I'd like to not be on that board.
Okay.
Thank you.
You decline the motion?
I declined your motion. So then I would like to recommend Commissioner Painter sit on that board.
I will second that.
Okay.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter,
Abstain.
Now we have item 11, another member of the Board of County Commissioners to serve on the Land Bank.
I'd like to recommend Commissioner Batchelor sit on
Second.
that other position.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Same.
That settled 10 and 11.
And you will be contacted very soon by the treasurer. I think the board is ready to meet. We've already have the state has funds potentially ready for the land bank to work on abandoned and vacant properties. So this board will, land bank will move fairly quickly into existence.
Good. Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to item G, county staff elected official discussion. Nothing? Okay. H, members' comments. David, Claire?
No comments except for wonderful, wonderful Memorial Day. And it was nice to see everyone out and remembering those who never came home with their uniform. And we thank everyone for their service, especially all the people that we lost in Clermont County.
How many names do you remember, did they say? Was it 30 some over in
That was
Union Township on the
33, yeah.
wall? Yeah. I know I lost friends. I'm sure most of the people here did.
Many are identified right out here on the wall.
Yeah.
There's a tribute to those.
Yep. Okay. We have an 11 o'clock. We have to recess. Can I have a motion to recess until 11?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Roll call, Holly?
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Thank you. Good morning, and we're back. And today at 11 o'clock, we have a public hearing relative to the proposed amendments to the Clermont County Water Management Sediment Control Regulations pursuant to and in compliance with Section 307.79B of the Ohio Revised Code. So how do we proceed with this, Thomas?
So I believe we'll have a presentation first by Mr. Gross.
Okay.
We could ask that anyone in attendance please sign in. I believe it's
I'm
number
sorry.
one on the
Thank you.
outline.
Do we have a sign-in sheet back there?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. We're here this morning to discuss the proposed changes to the water management sediment control regulations. This is the second of two hearings, and here to answer any questions that anyone may have about the proposed changes. We have a PowerPoint if we'd like to go through the PowerPoint and or address any questions directly to anyone.
I just have one question, and you could probably clarify real quick. A lot of times when we propose a change to regulations, one of the things that governments tend to do is they tend to put some restrictions in there that are over and above what the EPA requirements are. In these particular regulations in this revision, is there anything in there that has an enhanced quality that's over and above what the normal regulations would require?
There are three, actually. We can address those individually if you like.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Article 4, you can see there, we're adding a requirement that downspouts and sump pump discharges shall be no closer than 5 feet from adjoining properties. This is a very common complaint that we have. Sometimes the neighbors will take their downspouts and put it right up against the neighbor's property. And it wasn't specifically in our regulations, but we thought it was a good idea to add it.
Let's just talk about that a second. When it says 5 feet from an adjoining property, most properties and subdivisions have an adjoining easement that run down both sides of the property. My particular subdivision is 15 feet, 7.5 feet on both sides. What does that 5 feet mean? Does that 5 feet mean that it has to terminate greater than 5 feet from my 7.5 feet? Or can it actually terminate on that 7.5 feet when that's the easement between properties? And the only reason I ask that is because that's typically what happens when you add something. There's really no cut and dried,
I understand your question correctly. Easements are a little bit different. So easements are for drainage or whatever that utility lines, whatever that easement is for.
Right.
So typically we try to stay any construction out of a easement. But if that were a drainage easement, then your drains could go to the drainage easement. So, but the 5 foot or the 7.5 foot dimension you're talking about would be if there were no easement, but you're simply running your downspouts downhill, you couldn't run it outfall 5 feet closer to the neighbor's property line.
And the reason I bring that up is because typically people run a downspout, especially if they don't have street drains that they can run to. And if that's prohibited, then they run it to whatever that depression is, in between two properties. And typically that's right down the center of an easement that's there for things like electric and cable and drains and all kinds of things. And the minute you run to the center of that easement, then this becomes a arguable discussion. It's, if it says 5 feet, what's that 5 feet from? Because the property line on the pin runs straight right down the middle of that easement. And then the setback is 7.5 feet on both sides. And every subdivision is different, all over Clermont County, depending on what they drew up. In my particular subdivision, that was drawn up 40 years ago, and there's really no change in it. I've even had John Manis out at my house before to look at drainage easement, and it is what it is. No problem there. It's just, if we're going to go by this, I just think what does that mean? Is it 5 feet from the property line? Is that what that'll be interpreted as?
Yes.
Yeah, so typically that you'll find those in property maintenance codes, but we can't adopt one as a county. Those are to prevent someone from putting a downspout termination right on someone's property line, so they're discharging all that water directly on the property from the roof. So that's why they have that 5 feet, so it lets the water disperse before it gets to the property line. But I understand your question, if there's an easement there.
So really, a downspout like that should terminate over some grassy area for turbidity before it would run into a waterway, of some kind.
Yeah, it will disperse a little bit.
What are the two others?
John, do you remember the exact section about the engineer's recommendation on the slope of the basin? Yeah, I was looking for that particularly, just going to the changes.
There's a second change that allows for regional retention. So if you have a development going in, maybe a commercial development.
Hey, John, could you step up to the microphone? Sure. Otherwise, we may not be able to hear you on the video.
I'll try to help you find it.
Yeah, for example, if you have a commercial development that's tight on space for stormwater detention, retention, this gives the developer, the builder, an opportunity to provide that detention elsewhere in the form of a regional or detention system. So it gives flexibility to the developers to meet stormwater regulations. And the third, do you remember offhand what
I thought it was the slope of the basin.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
On recommendation of
the
county engineer.
So the current regulations don't speak to a maximum slope of the sides of detention basins at all, but it's important to have a maximum slope so that you can reasonably provide maintenance of that basin over time. So at the request of the engineer's office, we put in a maximum 6-to-1 slope.
And then just one other question about retention basins is it seems that every time a developer puts a retention basin in, the issue isn't with the installation of the retention basin, although it may well be on you guys' side, because obviously you got to verify that it's built correctly. It always comes to whatever the outflow comes off that retention basin. If there's been one thing that I've traveled to people's houses for in subdivisions, especially around the Amelia area, is because the outflow off those retention basins is violent, and this existing system that it's trying to go to is not sufficient to carry that water away. And then you end up with people's yards that have 5.5 feet of standing water in, and then they can't mow their lawns for a month. And so what do we do, and how do we handle that challenge?
A couple of ways. There are very specific sizing requirements, retention requirements as to how the basins are constructed. Regulations tell them exactly what to manage for. And then also there's a requirement that they would need to conduct a downstream hydraulic assessment at the request of the building department to make sure there is capacity downstream.
And when we do that, and when we see that there isn't capacity downstream and that doesn't work, then whose responsibility is it to clear that and to make sure that that can drain? We had that challenge in Amelia, and we had that challenge right up at that new ball field. And both of those were not caused by the installation. It was caused by downstream.
Keith may need to correct me on this, but if there is an issue with the existing downstream structure, before the development goes in, it's the responsibility of that property owner to correct it. If the downstream structure is in good shape, and the hydraulic analysis shows there's not capacity, I believe it's on the developer, the engineer, to make some changes to the stormwater management system with the new development to make sure that there is capacity downstream.
And the only thing I would caution on that is that the citizens that live around these new structures that we as a county permit believe that we possess superior knowledge, and we should as a county. And we should know when that catch basin is built or that retention basin, whether that's going to work downstream or not. Because what always happens is when it doesn't work, we say, well, that's a responsibility of the downstream people, that runs there, but that doesn't fix it for the people who are impacted, that water is backed up in their yard. I mean, we've got to have something in those regulations that says we're going to verify that. And before we permit it and we allow them to use it, we got to make sure that that kind of stuff works, because you can't just wipe your hands clean of it. Because even as a commissioner going over and trying to provide some relief for that, my hands are tied, and that shouldn't be.
I agree completely. One, I do think the regulations have that built into it. And also, we have 3 different departments looking at the plans as they come in: soil and water, building department, and the engineer's office. And we get 3 shots to look at it too, at the concept plan stage, at the design plan stage, at the construction plan stage. So we pay very, very close attention to that.
And when we find that drainage system network has collapsed, then we should not put those kind of appurtenances into service until that's fixed. I mean, that ought to be part of the inspection process. When those plans are given and we look at where it exits to, we should verify before we ever give somebody a permit to install a great big retention basin, the okay to do that. Because once it's operating and flooding people's lawns, well, everybody walks away and throws their hands in the air and says, it ain't ours to fix.
That is part of the downstream hydraulic analysis. Yes.
We used to have that same thing, Lee's Chicken.
Yes.
Was it Presbyterian Church
Presbyterian
right
Church.
there? Their basement got flooded because where that came through the subdivision and back in there, when it got there, it couldn't get, that pipe went under 125 and on over by the old Taco Bell. It would get stopped up, and every time there was a torrential rainfall, their basement of that church would get flooded every time.
When another entity is required to keep those waterways clean and free of debris, to allow that structure that we're permitting to work on, there should be some kind of MOU or something that's part of that approval process. It's got to be.
Okay. One of the changes in these regulations is the requirement for the builder, the developer, to create an inspection and maintenance plan for anything they put in place as far as stormwater management system goes. They have to turn that, well, 1, they have to submit it to the building department for approval, and 2, they have to turn that over to the post-construction owner operator so they know what they're dealing with.
Okay.
That's good.
Conceptually, if it fails, that'd be that property owners. If it was dammed up or the structure failed or something, you would have to maintain it. So the codes read sort of, you can't change the flow or the direction. You can't dam it up. You can't back water up on someone, and you can't change the direction of flow downstream.
When you're tearing everything out of your garage because it's filling up with 2 feet of water, go tell them, go tell the other property owner. And what they're going to say is, you're Clermont County. You permitted this structure. That's what you get. And I got to agree with that. You can't build a structure that the downside waterway or the downside relief mechanism doesn't work. And the only way to tell that is somebody says, well, it was 100-year rain. Well, hey, that's what stuff's designed for. You got to make sure it works. Okay.
We do our best. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions for us today?
Only issue I have is these guys come and look at my property.
Yes, sir. If you're going to make comments, we need you to be sworn in by our.
Can you state your name?
Pat Marston?
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
So help you God?
Yes.
Sir, can
I
you
live
spell-
in
Can you spell your name for us first?
Marston. I live at 133, 1336, 131, and I got two properties on the side of me. I've had your guys come look at the thing. I mean, I got a sinkhole right now on my property. I went over and tried talking to the owner of the property. He wouldn't have nothing. He wouldn't even talk to me. So I talked to the manager of the maintenance guy. This has been 6 months ago, 7 months ago. Now that sinkhole's even getting worse. I had John out there look at it, and he says he has no control. He can't go over and talk to the people unless he's invited onto the property. And to me is, why have somebody can't do anything? At least go talk to the guy. And this keeps on going, and eventually it's going to wash out the hillside and wash out my front part of the property. I don't know how to get results on it. I went through the channels and stuff, and I like to have some address. And I know that they addressed it, the drain, the pipelines coming to it, because my philosophy is if you run a pipe to it, I know natural flow of water. When it runs across the ground and falls. But when you run it through a pipeline, there's no more natural. It's being piped straight to your property. He's seen that issue there, and I've talked to the owner of the other side of my property, which is Warren Landscaping, and talked to them. Try to ask Matt to work together on this. Let's get this drain. And he seems to say it's not my property. That's natural flow of the water. And I've finally got my property surveyed and found out he's 3 to 4 feet on my property, draining it to my property. So in his property now, they bring stuff in, they dump it, and they keep pushing it out of their way towards the fence. Well, the fence has been pushed so far over now that, like I say, he's 3 feet on my property. I mentioned it to him, and his first words is it's natural flow of the water. And like I say, John come up there and he, again, can't even go talk to him because unless he's asked to go talk to him, nothing gets done. So I'm here arguing with this guy trying to get out. I even offered help if he just helped me rerun it, because he's got a 6-inch pipe coming to my property that he says it has a valve that runs to the street or runs to my property, whichever way it wants to go. And I told him, I says, no, you're not going to have that. If it runs to the street, runs to the natural drain from the street, then I'm capping it. And I did cap that 6-inch for him. And what I want to do is run the 4-inch that runs to my property down to the 6-inch. So now it all runs to the street. But he refuses to negotiate or talk to me. And I get to the point that I need to address the issues and see if there's anything you guys can do. I know I had a business in Evendale, and it flooded every time when they started building all them properties up in Westchester. The holding ponds weren't big enough, and it just run down the creek and it flood Evendale. Well, it still floods when it's really, really bad, but this floods Evendale all the time. And then they did some rezoning up there in Evendale, up in Westchester, and started having them holding ponds. Boom, it got rid of almost all the flooding we had down in Evendale. So it's issues you guys got to address to control this flow of water. And I know it's a big job, but I know what rain comes and it floods and stuff like that, but it's just one of the issues I have with my property that I just moved in this area. So something if you could help, and you guys address some of it so far. Thank you.
Anything, John?
Welcome.
So yeah, I did go out and meet with Mr. Marston last winter, and he's got issues on either sides. The one he talked about from the landscaping company, downspouts are running onto his property. The changes that we talked about with the WMSC regulations would address this, would give the building department the authority to go to the neighbor and say, hey, some improvement needs to be made here. The other side, the sinkhole around the catch basin, it's a private system. It's been in the ground for a number of years,
I have no idea how long it's been.
likely well before the county had any stormwater regulations. So it's just, it's without a doubt, it's an issue, but it is on private property. It's not something we really have the ability to enforce. As a soil and water conservation district, I told Mr. Marston we'd be happy to send the neighbor on the other side a letter with our recommendations and offer to meet with him. But if he chooses to ignore our recommendations, there's really nothing we can do about that.
I do have that storage place on the other side is Cherokee Storage. They're planning on building 2 more big buildings there and now changing what gravel they have there, where they have the campers parked and stuff. It's going to be all blacktop and a roof, which means there's going to be even more water coming off that property that you guys can address because they have to have permits from you.
That's right. Yes. If they make improvements, yes, they would have to submit plans to the building department, including plans for stormwater detention. And yeah, we could address that.
And unfortunately, we'll do everything that we can do, but a lot of times when it comes down to disputes between neighbors, that ends up in civil courts. We see it all the time.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Are there any other questions regarding
No.
regulations?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no further comments, we will close this public hearing. And this time, if Commissioner Corcoran, anything else?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Roll call, Holly.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes, thank you all.